Kawaki's skin burned, and a silent roar exploded in his chest. Dude, how could such a bizarre and violent mark appear after Isshiki was wiped out for good? Let's rewind a bit to understand all of this. The relief of victory was still palpable, and you could feel the weight of a world finally breathing. Kawaki was exhausted, but the sensation of freedom was almost strange. He walked through the hidden Leaf Village hallways, his body heavy and his mind trying to process the new reality. Isshiki's absence was a vacuum, but a good vacuum, you know? It was like a universal weight had been ripped from him. But a chill ran down Kawaki's spine, and a sharp pang in his chest made him stop. It wasn't the karma, and it wasn't the pain from some battle round. It was an older, deeper sensation, something his body held without him even knowing. He touched the spot, confused, and you could see the worry growing in his eyes. What was coming? In the following days, the sensation became more constant and intensified during moments of stress. A different, almost subtle energy began to vibrate from within, in the place where the karma once marked his skin. Kawaki tried to ignore it, but the pulsation was undeniable, a rhythm of its own that didn't belong to him, but now seemed to be a part of him. The fear of losing everything again tightened Kawaki's heart, and you could see the anguish on his face. He had gained a family, a home, and the chance to be himself. But this new mark could take everything away again, turning him into a husk, a vessel for another alien. He had fought so hard to be free, and now freedom seemed threatened by ghosts. Isshiki's energy was unique, and you could see it wasn't just a simple memory. It connected with Kawaki's chakra in a bizarre way, creating something new, almost like a fusion of power. It wasn't karma, but it had the essence of the Otsutsuki. A shocking revelation is about to explode, and you need to be prepared for what's coming. Kawaki tried to hide the mark, wearing looser clothes or keeping himself more isolated. He didn't want to worry Naruto or Boruto. The internal struggle was constant, a heavy secret he carried alone. He felt the power growing, a brute force he didn't understand, and you could feel his loneliness and despair. Then the pain came again, but this time with a brutal and uncontrollable intensity. The mark erupted in a pale light, almost a dark violet, and Kawaki's eyes transformed for a brief instant, a strange glow appearing. A voice whispered in his mind, not Isshiki's, but something more, and the energy consumed him in an icy embrace. The pain receded and left an icy void in its place, dude. Kawaki fell to his knees, and the air in his lungs felt heavy, almost dense. His skin burned softly, and the mark pulsed with a newly awakened energy. His eyes returned to normal, but his mind was in chaos, trying to understand what had just happened. He breathed with difficulty, trying to regain control of a body that seemed to betray him. It was then that the voice came, not a sound heard, but a cold presence inside his head. It was Ishiki's whisper, not like a possession, but like a deep, undeniable echo. Freedom is an illusion, vessel. The voice hissed, and Kawaki's mind froze with the ruthless truth. He felt this connection growing, an invisible yet powerful web that bound him. The whisper promised power, a brutal force that would surpass everything he'd ever known. You can have what you've always wanted, power to never be weak again. The voice echoed with a dangerous temptation. Kawaki felt the energy flow through his veins, a warmth that contrasted with the whisper's cold, a reminder of what this could do. It was a promise of invincibility that sounded almost seductive, but a jolt of alarm cut through the euphoria, a silent warning that nothing comes for free. The price was invisible, like a shadow stretching beyond the horizon. Kawaki was afraid, an ancient dread of being used again, of losing himself to another entity. This force was a weapon, but who would be in control of it? He slowly stood up, his body still trembling, and you could see the internal struggle in his eyes. He wanted the strength to protect Naruto and Boruto, to protect the village he loved so much. But the idea of becoming a tool again, a puppet of Isshiki, was a prison without bars. The memory of his enslavement was an open wound on his soul. In the following days, Kawaki tried to understand this new connection, seeking a way to control the energy without being controlled by it. He trained alone, testing the mark discreetly, feeling the pulsations and the whisper growing stronger and stronger. It was like taming a wild beast, a force that refused to be subjugated. He needed answers, and fast. During one of these training sessions, an unexpected blast of chakra exploded from his hand, destroying a distant tree with surprising ease. It wasn't the karma, but something cruder, almost primitive. The whisper mocked in his mind, "You are stronger than you think, but you still fear yourself." And Kawaki felt a chill. The strength was his, but it seemed to have a will of its own. Isshiki's cold whisper didn't give direct orders, but implanted ideas, sowed doubts, and promised absolute power. It was a subtle manipulation, a psychological game designed to destabilize and break him. Kawaki realized this, and the battle wasn't just physical, but a silent war for his very soul. He was in constant danger. One night, a vivid dream tormented him, showing fragments of memories that weren't his, visions of cosmic power and horrible sacrifices. The whisper echoed in his dreams. "The price is your humanity, but the reward is the universe." Kawaki woke up in a cold sweat, and the reality of what was to come hit him with full force. This was more than just a mark. He couldn't ignore it. With each passing second, the connection deepened, and the line between him and Isshiki's echo grew thinner. Kawaki needed answers, and he needed them now, before it was too late. He didn't know who to turn to, because this was a battle he felt he'd have to fight alone. But he wasn't alone, not really. Then, as he tried to recompose himself, a strange sensation swept through the village, a presence he recognized from the past. It wasn't Isshiki, but something connected to him, an ancient and almost forgotten chakra signature. Kawaki looked out the window, and the darkness of the night seemed to hide something more sinister approaching the Hidden Leaf village, and he knew the worst was yet to come. The presence Kawaki felt wasn't a mirage. The dark aura solidified at the Hidden Leaf village's borders, and you could feel the tension in the air. They were hooded figures, moving with supernatural agility, their eyes gleaming with a disturbing obsession for Otsutsuki power. The target was clear, Kawaki. They weren't seeking destruction, but the essence that now ran through his veins, Isshiki's gift. You could tell they were cultists, followers of an ancient legacy, willing to do anything to claim that raw, ancestral power. A brutal confrontation was inevitable. Kawaki felt the murderous intent, and his body reacted instinctively. He couldn't allow them to get close to Naruto or Boruto, and the image of the village in danger filled him with a protective fury. The mark on his chest pulsed, an echo of the power he was still struggling to master. He lunged out, intercepting the first group before they reached the walls, and you could feel the impact of the collision in the air. The cultists' blades and jutsus were fast, but Kawaki's new strength, wild and unpredictable, responded with even more powerful blows. It was a desperate, relentless fight. Every blow he struck, every burst of chakra emanating from the mark, was accompanied by Isshiki's icy whisper. "Use it. Let me guide you." The voice promised power, and Kawaki felt the line between control and possession becoming dangerously thin. He needed to be strong, but at what cost? One of the cultists managed to infiltrate and was heading towards Naruto's residence. Desperation squeezed Kawaki's heart, and he saw Boruto and Himawari's silhouettes running towards the danger, drawn by the chaos. That was his greatest fear becoming reality, you know? He had to act now. A wave of violet energy erupted from Kawaki, a roar of pure rage in his chest, and the force was so brutal it hurled several enemies away. He channeled the energy with instinctive precision, creating chakra barriers to protect the innocents. The power was his, but at a cost he didn't yet understand. The cultists retreated, momentarily shocked by the intensity of Kawaki's power, and you could see the fear in their eyes. The immediate threat was repelled. The village walls were safe for now. He panted, his body aching, but his family was safe, and that's all that mattered. But as the dust settled, one of the hooded figures, before disappearing into the shadows, dropped a strange artifact, a small violet stone that glowed with a familiar energy. It wasn't Isshiki's, but something that resonated with the mark, a different kind of Otsutsuki legacy. What was that, dude? Kawaki felt a shiver down his spine and realized that these weren't the only ones seeking the power within him, but rather a part of something much bigger. Isshiki's gift was a curse that would attract enemies from all corners of the universe. A new war was about to begin, and he was the pivot of everything. Kawaki lunged, but Ishiki's voice forced him to change his attack, betraying the body that was his. How could this betrayal happen, dude? If the Otsutsuki was dead and buried for good. Let's rewind a bit to understand all of this. Kawaki held the violet stone, his heart pounding at a frightening speed. He knew new enemies would come to the Hidden Leaf village, and that was just the tip of a much bigger cosmic iceberg. The stone pulsed in his hand, a strange and almost hypnotic frequency, and Isshiki's whisper seemed clearer in his mind now. It was as if the rock amplified the connection, a direct channel to his soul. He felt the earth tremble again and the dark presence reappear, but now it was different. A more numerous horde, with a cruel and focused intent, surrounded the village. A blur shot past, quick as lightning, and a cold dagger grazed his neck, cutting the air by a millimeter. Kawaki dodged by a hair's breadth, but the energy of the mark on his chest flared out of control. Isshiki's voice became a roar, not a whisper, but a clear order echoing in his mind. Attack the blind spot. Vessel. Use the power that is mine. Kawaki hesitated, fighting against the command that wasn't his, but his arm moved on IT's own, firing an unexpected jutsu that hit the enemy squarely. The fusion of consciousnesses was real, and he was losing control. Control over his own body slipped away, and he felt Isshiki's consciousness mingling with his, like two currents intertwining in a whirlpool. It was a silent, but absolute possession. He forced a scream of rage and despair, trying to break the brutal connection, but Isshiki responded with a clear vision of the past. For an instant, Kawaki was there, seeing Isshiki himself smiling victoriously through his eyes. Kawaki's mind fragmented, trapped between his present and the Otsutsuki's memories, and he didn't know who was truly in control of that body. The internal war had only just begun. Kawaki exploded into light, the ultimate sacrifice, silencing the universe forever. How did he get to this point? Dude, if Isshiki was in command and the village was trapped in darkness. Kawaki's body contorted, a puppet of Isshiki, and he felt the brute force controlling every muscle. The pain of being a spectator to his own destruction was unbearable. His eyes saw the village in flames, the people he loved in danger, and he was powerless. It was a prison without bars, an endless torment, and the only way out seemed to be surrender. The cultists advanced, sadistic smiles on their faces, as Isshiki's power used Kawaki to destroy everything he tried to protect. Naruto and Boruto tried to fight, but the Otsutsuki's power was unstoppable, a cosmic force that crushed them. He couldn't allow Isshiki to use his body to massacre the family he cherished so much. The fear of losing everything was real, but deep within Kawaki's mind, a fragment of himself resisted, an ember of his own will. He realized that Isshiki's connection wasn't a complete possession, but a flow of raw energy. The Otsutsuki didn't just want control, but a fusion, and that was the key to the turning point that was coming. He felt a spark of hope. Kawaki clung to this truth like a shipwrecked survivor in the midst of storm, a last shred of lucidity. He felt the power flow through him, the same power Isshiki used to control him, but now with a new understanding. It wasn't a matter of rejecting it, but of mastering it. He needed to absorb and reshape it, making IT his own, not Isshiki's. An epic mental battle began. The price, he knew, would be the very essence of who he was, his individuality, perhaps even his life. To control the fusion, he would have to surrender to the energy, but maintain his own will amidst the cosmic storm. He had to accept the death of the old Kawaki to become something new and powerful. It was the only way to save the village, a high but necessary sacrifice. He screamed, a roar that wasn't Ishiki's, but his own, pure and determined, and an even more intense violet aura exploded from his body. The marks on his face and arms expanded, pulsing with an energy that was now his, molded by his will. He used Isshiki's Byakugan, but with a precision Isshiki never had, and with devastating power. The cultists were swept away in an instant. Isshiki's consciousness struggled, weakened and subjugated by Kawaki's mastery, until it disappeared into an eternal silence. The price was paid. Kawaki's skin was marked with permanent violet scars, a reminder of the power he now carried. But the light in his eyes was his own. He was different, but finally free, a transformed guardian. He had become the weapon, but also the shield, and the price was worth it. The village was safe, and the dust settled, revealing a new Kawaki. Not the same traumatized boy, but a man forged in cosmic fire, with a power that defied comprehension. He looked at Naruto and Boruto, a tired smile on his face, and felt a peace he had never known before. The universe had been saved, but he had changed forever. Isshiki's gift, in the end, was his own liberation. A new journey was about to begin, dude. Dude, if you enjoyed Kawaki's epic journey and the game-changing twist, then don't forget to hit that like button on this video. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next insane stories. And drop a comment about what you thought of this brutal ending. There's plenty more adventure waiting for you in another video on the channel. That's it, my friend. Thanks to TON for following Kawaki on this fight for freedom and for sticking with him until the end. I'll sign off here, but the saga continues in your imagination. Until next time, dude.